back in the day, 9 years ago, direct mail worked tremendously, still works a little bit today, but I was handwriting envelopes. I would invite my friends over to the house during the NBA playoffs to watch the game. And then I would buy a Little Caesars $5 pizza and then put them in the basement of my parents' house and then ask them to help me write envelopes and send out direct mail. So, it's a grind. But if you continue to put in the work and take the right actions and make the phone calls and make the offers and do the sales and et cetera, real estate works, right? We're not trying to land on Mars, Elon Musk. That's an if, right?
What is up, everybody? Skorch the Fears. We have Austin Rutherford here. He is a guy I've been following on social media for a while. He's pretty darn cool, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in so very much. As always, Instagram, come on to YouTube. Then you're going to actually hear Austin. You're not just going to get me. You're going to get the entire freaking podcast. So it's going to be great. Austin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So real quick, for the people that don't know you, talk about what you've done in real estate, talk about your experience, what you do, what you've done in the past, all of that. Just give a real quick intro for the people that don't know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been investing in real estate for about 9 years now. Started off, bought my first house, my first rental when I was 20, flipped my first house at 22, I'm 30 now, flipped a few hundred houses between flips, wholesales, and new constructions. Did a few hundred deals, owned 110, 120 rental properties today, a couple office buildings, a warehouse building, and, starting to get into bigger development type stuff. So I've been all around the real estate game. I've been able to do all of it using other people's money. So that's kind of one of my niches, is raising OPM to get these deals funded. So that's a little bit of background on me.
Love it. I love it. We're going to get into a lot of that, especially the OPM. I mean, I'm good at it. I'm a Pace Morby student. I'm in sub 2. So we talk a lot about raising other people's money. My main understanding, or what's helped me the most, is switching from I'm asking for money to I'm just presenting an opportunity. I feel that's the biggest key mindset thing. We'll get into that.
100%.
But real quick, I always start off these podcasts, same question every single time. When you were getting into real estate, what was your greatest fear? What were some of your greatest fears, and how did you overcome them? Because everybody deals with fears. I find that it's the thing that blocks people the most from jumping into real estate. And so what were your greatest fears? Because you're 9 years in, $20 million portfolio, 120 rentals, flips, wholesales, commercial. It's going all crazy, right? But when we go back 9 years, what were your greatest fears, and how did you overcome them?
Great question. So I kind of say I had two starts, right? So my original dream was to go to the NBA. That didn't work out, unfortunately. And at that point, that was my life. I literally worked out 3 times a day, and I was trying to go to the league. Went to Arizona to play basketball for a year to a JUCO to try and make it. And while I was there, I fell out of love with the game of basketball, and I felt lost, right? Because it was all I knew in my life. So, somebody could lose a job, could lose a significant other. Something can go wrong in someone's life, and what do I do now? And I was just kind of lost. I turned to books. So I read a book called Think and Grow Rich, which turned me onto, thinking bigger. And then that led me to real estate. And I love the idea of passive residual income. So I bought a duplex when I was 20. But what I really, say my start was on my first flip. So I bought my duplex. I had 35 grand saved at the time, put it as a down payment. Then I was broke. So I was, all right, I need to make money faster to buy more rental properties. And then I got put on to flipping houses using other people's money. I hired a coach.
Can I really quick ask you? I'm just curious. Why do you consider that duplex, just for everyone else, not the start in real estate? Just why?
Because my first flip, I made $107,000 in profit. So
okay, well, there you go. That's some money, right?
That's usually the hook. So I joined the mentor program, and I thought I was going to get rich overnight. I was 21 years old. I maxed out my credit cards to join this program. And from that day to the day I ended up flipping my first deal was a 16-month journey. And I was valeting cars 50 to 60 hours a week. I was going to college, taking 15 credit hours. I was a licensed real estate agent, and I was trying to start learning to flip houses using other people's money. So I was putting in 14, 16, 18, 20-hour days religiously for 16 months. So during that time, there's a lot of negativity that comes into your life, right? I was 21 years old. This is the time of going to college, partying, going on spring break with your friends. I didn't do any of that, right? I went to college. I went to a community college because I promised my mother I'd go to get my degree, but I never went to a big college. I never went to parties. I never went to spring break. I never did any of that stuff because I was focused on building something bigger. So one of the fears is the fear of the unknown. Is, hey, does this thing work? Is real estate real? Because in that 16 months, you're going to ask yourself a lot of questions. And what I've learned is that real estate is not an if game, it's a win game. So it works as long as you keep putting the work in. So that was one, lost some friends along the way, stopped getting invited out to go places with some friends. There was a time where I had less than, I don't know, $1,000 in my bank account and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And I was, this is tough. And finally ended up getting that first deal. Didn't have the money. So then I had to go raise $250,000 to get that first deal funded. Again, a lot of unknown, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. It was a $170,000 rehab. I had no idea how to do that at the time and just kind of put it all together. Ended up flipping the house, making over $100,000 in profit and reinvested every single penny and just, kind of build it from there.
I love it. So real quick, you said something gold in there that I want to focus on for a second that I truly believe about real estate, which was what you said was it's an if game, it's a when game, not an if game, right?
Yep.
Where everyone becomes successful in real estate as long as they keep doing it. It's not an if as long as you keep doing it, which is one of the craziest things in entrepreneurship I've ever seen. I don't think there's any other industry that where you just keep going and you eventually become successful. I don't know anyone who's done it honestly longer than a year and a half who wasn't eventually successful if they were actually putting in the work and actually trying to make it happen. So talk about that real quick. Why do you feel real estate is that and other industries aren't?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It was if you continue to do the right actions, right? A lot of people come to me, hey, Austin, I'm not having success. This sucks. I'm getting ready to quit. I'm like, okay, cool. What are you doing? Well, I'm trying to buy a house. Cool. How many offers have you made? Well, 5. Well, how long have you been doing it for? A month. I'm going to go put in 16 months of going. During that 16, right, I was valeting cars, taking 15 credit hours. I was driving to houses almost daily and writing offers as an MLS agent. And I was handwriting back in the day, 9 years ago. Direct mail worked tremendously, still works a little bit today. But I was handwriting envelopes. I would invite my friends over to the house during the NBA playoffs to watch the game. And then I would buy a Little Caesars $5 pizza and then put them in the basement of my parents' house and then ask them to help me write envelopes and send out direct mail. So, it's a grind. But if you continue to put in the work and take the right actions and make the phone calls and make the offers and do the sales and et cetera, real estate works, right? We're not trying to land on Mars, Elon Musk. That's an if, right? Hopefully it turns into a win, but it's an if right now. But real estate is a fact, right? It's created the most millionaires ever of all time. So it's not an if game. And when you remove the if from your brain, and it's hard to do because it's a lot of fear, right? It's a lot of uncertainty. But if you remove the if, it becomes very simple. It's when. Cool. I'm down. You sign me up. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I'm going to continue doing this until you get a break. I had a student of mine and they messaged me, man, this sucks. I'm 6 months in. I haven't got my deal. And I was, listen, it's a build up on the first one. But when that first one hits, it's a snowball effect. And literally 2 weeks later, got their first deal. A month after that, got 2 or 3 more deals and just started crushing it. I don't know what it is, but that first deal is the hardest. And then it's a snowball from there.
I love it. I love it so much. So then, okay, so you're known for raising other people's money. Did you say you raised all of the money for your first flip?
Correct. Yep.
So how'd you do that? I mean, that might be the most common question you get ever, but that's really interesting. I even have a mindset barrier here where I would think, okay, your first one, it's going to be insanely hard to raise private money because you've never done it before. I've heard people doing it a lot once they've done way more flips. Then people are, okay, your capital is safe, right? So talk to us about that. How'd you raise money up for your first flip?
Yeah, so when I first joined that original coaching program, I ended up going to all the networking events and everything to learn as much as possible. And while I was there, I met a lady. I didn't know her at the time. We just connected. Hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to get into real estate. She was, hey, I'm trying to get into real estate too. I have a self-directed IRA that I'm going to use to invest in my own deals. I was, oh, that's awesome. Wish you the best of luck. We exchanged numbers. Life went on. A year later, I ended up getting this first deal. And I didn't have the money for it. So I started calling around and I was, let me give her a call. And I called her, asked how things were doing. They're like, hey, I'm still trying to get my first deal. And I presented the opportunity to her to lend the money with me on this deal. And so we came through the same program. So she knew that I was educated in the right way because we were learning the same things, right? So that's one thing. I actually ended up asking her a few years ago, why'd you give me money? And one of the reasons was because I was educated. I knew what I was talking about because I came through the same thing that they did. So education definitely helped me on that. And then we structured it in a couple different ways to give protection to the lender. So one of the things that I did, so they obviously got a mortgage on the property. That's a given. They got a promissory note, but in the state of Ohio, you can do something that's called a cognovit promissory note. So if I defaulted on the loan, instead of having to go through the foreclosure process, I waived all my rights day one. So it alleviated a lot of the extra legwork that she would have had to gone through if I defaulted and got foreclosed on. So that was an extra level of a barrier, I guess. And then the other thing is we escrowed the rehab money. So now when I borrow, if I'm borrowing 150 for a purchase and 50 for a rehab, I'm borrowing 200 grand. The seller's getting 150 on the purchase, and I'm getting in my bank account $50,000 for the rehab. The problem is I can take that $50,000 and go to Cancun and never come back, right? So there's a little bit of risk with a lender when you structure it that way. So on that deal, in the first couple deals with her, we ended up escrowing it. So the rehab funds were staying in escrow with the title company, and then I drew the funds out as the project continuously got renovated. So those are a couple barriers that we put in place that made her more comfortable.
I think the main key one that people should get is it was through an education program. I feel like that's the biggest why more than anything else.
Yeah.
So talk about education for a second. This is something that's a really common theme with all the people I've had on this podcast at this point. I've had pretty big hitters, Ken Clothier, Pace Beach, Emil Damji, all these people, right? And they all talk about education being the key to their success.
Yep.
How do you feel what type of education programs should somebody get generally? How do you vet people? How do you know which ones is the right one? There's millions of them, right? There's so many with real estate. It's ridiculous at this point. And how do you, let's start there. I don't want to overwhelm you with questions. How do you find a really good education program, and how do you vet the person leading it?
Yeah, no, I think education is key. So ever since that first coach, I've had a coach every year for the last 9 years. Usually multiple coaches within a year. I spend $50,000 to $100,000 a year on education. So definitely a believer in it. Like you said, I feel everybody at a high level feels the same. So as far as how to find them, social media, there's so many of them. Like you can swipe 10 times on social media and you can probably find somebody that's a coach. So finding them is the easy part. Now, there's two things that come with that. One, you gotta vibe with them, right? You're going to be watching a lot of videos with them. You're going to be on calls with them. If you don't connect, it's going to be very difficult for you to learn in a positive manner. So one, make sure that you can connect with the individual. And then two, you have to see the proof, right? The proof is in the pudding. Unfortunately, in today's world, you can post something that you're doing, that you're crushing it, and maybe you've only done one deal or two deals or three deals, right? So, there's a saying, show me the HUD. So you can tell on social media if it's all super surface level type of content, maybe they did, maybe they didn't do something. But if they're walking houses, if they're showing deposits, if they're showing HUDs, if they're talking about construction, if they're talking about moving money around, people that haven't done it can't talk about those things. So it's hard to ask a coach, hey, show me your bank account and send me 20 of your HUDs, because that's a little bit weird. But that's one way to get proof. I've never done that. But you can typically tell when somebody's actually talking how deep they're going into the content. Will tell you how knowledgeable they actually are on the subject.
Makes sense. And then, so how do you utilize, because you did more than just do the real estate course or mentorship that one. You actually networked with people and kept a Rolodex. How do you effectively network to be able to do things, raise private money for your flip, or I don't know, do all sorts of cool things? How does one effectively network in those groups? Maybe even at meetups if it's the same applicable. Just how do you utilize your Rolodex to be able to get real estate deals done?
For sure. This may be unbelievable to some, but I hate the camera. I'm an introvert. I am not the type of person that likes to go out and talk to people. But if people see me on social media, they're, oh, he talks to everybody, because I forced myself on purpose to do that, right? I know the power of networking. I know the power of building a brand on social media. I know the power of making content. So there's some people watching this that are sitting there, well, I don't really talking to people. Me neither. We're in the same exact boat, right? So just something you got to get past. I remember walking into rooms and I would walk in, people would be there, and I would just get like flushed with red and start sweating. And I just drove to the event, right? And I would walk in the door and I would look, and a couple people would look at me because I opened the door, and I would turn around and leave and drive home. It was bad. I hated networking. I hated talking. I hated putting myself out there. At the high school, prom and homecoming, I would literally stand in the corner against the wall. I didn't want to go out there and dance. I don't want people looking at nothing. So I just want to print that picture. If that's you thinking that, I promise you, I've been in the same shoes that you have, right? I just know the benefit on the other side. So that's number one. But number two, now that I know that, literally talk to everybody, right? And I come from a place of value. If you come to somebody and it's an immediate ask, it's going to be turned off. When people come to me, hey, I need this, I need that. I don't know you. Why would I give you that? You know what I mean? I'm here to help, but don't come with a crazy expectation of me. But if somebody comes to me, yo, bro, I love your content. I saw you post about this. How can I help? I'll respond. I'll read it and I'll give feedback on that. So when you come with value to somebody, you said at the beginning of the show, raising money is an opportunity, not an ask. That's value, by the way. So value is huge. And early on in my career, I went to every single networking event imaginable. Probably every night of the week, at least 5 nights a week, I was at a networking event. 1, to learn, and 2, to network, right? I've met the first lady that lent me money there, one of my biggest private money lenders that's lent me many, 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 many millions of dollars at a networking event. When I started hosting my own events, I raised a ton of money from those events. I bought a ton of deals from those. It's crazy, but it's so simple that your network can literally multiply your business just by knowing the right people. So, yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, it's literally, I don't know. I don't think it would be even possible without some networking. I don't
No.
think it's possible to do real estate in general or really any business. I mean, you at some point have to talk to people. Brent Daniels is a mentor of mine, and that's what he called it. That's his whole thing, TTP. I think people can do it differently depending on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, but at some point you got to talk to somebody in order to get a deal done, right?
100%.
So I don't know if you said this, but what were your fears when you were raising the money? I mean, being an introvert, it sounds like you were cold calling people to raise that money, right? More or less, you were just looking through your phone being, all right, I'm going to call every person in here, see who has money, right? How did you overcome being an introvert and talking to people? Do you have any methods? Is it meditation or something? There's a lot of introverts watching right now who will want to know how do you do that? How do you, as an introvert, just get over it and start talking to people?
Great question. One early on, so manifestations is the short answer to it. And one of mine, when probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago when I started, I was, all right, let me start doing this manifesting thing. And one of them is I when I walk into any room, I know I bring value. I carry my shoulders high and I know I bring value in any room. So I know that was a fear of mine, walking into a room and not being the guy, not doing any deals. Why am I here? Right. So I said that to myself every single day, continuously. And then I started walking into rooms with a little bit taller and carrying a little bit more value into those rooms. Now I walk in any room, right? Because it's ingrained in me now. So manifesting and saying those, affirmations, that's the word. Doing those affirmations definitely helped me with that for sure. And another secret is specifically to raising money. When I network with people now, you have to listen to what people are saying to see if they're a good potential of raising money. But in my phone, I'll save contacts and it'll be their name. And then after it'll be PML, private money lender. So anytime I have to go on a money raising spree, I just type in PML and start burning through the call log. So that's just a secret hack. But as far as getting over, that fear of talking, affirmations was huge for me. And I mean, that's the biggest one. I mean, the other one is just knowing literally everything comes from my bankers on refis came from networking. A lot of my contractors came from networking. A lot of my deal flow came from networking. A lot of my private money lenders came from networking. I'm hopefully going into contract on a 10-unit apartment building in the next couple of days, came from networking. I bought a 16,000 square foot warehouse, came from networking. I bought an 18 house portfolio for $3.1 million. It appraised for 5.7 6 months later with less than $100,000 of work. $2.5 million of equity came from networking. I gotta give you a deal after example after example after example. The power of going out and talking to people, like it's insane, especially in today's world. Again, because social media is so big and so pronounced, like you have to go out there and you have to talk to people.
I love it. So let's talk about what were those affirmations? What did you do? People know the words affirmations, but what does that mean? In practice, what were you doing, especially at the beginning?
Yeah, so I had them taped to my mirror. So it was printed out in the corner of my mirror. So every time I brush my teeth in the morning and the evening, I would read through my affirmations. And so affirmations can be something that you may be seeing yourself as a, I don't want to say fault, but as a not the strongest ability that you have. To me, it was confidence. It was walking into the room, right? So some of my affirmations were that, and then tied in with manifesting. Some of them were visualizing yourself in what it is that you want. Like before I ever had a Rolls Royce, I visualized myself driving the Rolls Royce, right? I custom built a house at 24 and it had everything that I wanted. It had a weight room in the basement, had a 3-car garage, had a basketball hoop outside, it had a walk-in shower with a bathtub inside of it because I visualized myself walking into that every single morning for years before I ever built that thing. So the short answer, it was literally taped on the mirror in my bedroom, in my bathroom, and I would read it to myself out loud confidently every morning and every night when I brushed my teeth.
Gotcha. Love it. So that's smart. So basically tape some affirmations to your mirror. You just, and then talk about, because I feel here's the thing with affirmations that I've noticed with some people. Some people read them, don't really believe them, right?
Facts.
I feel like people a lot of time write affirmations and say them, and then that like that they just say them aloud and expect magic to happen, but they're not internalizing it. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody deal with this before, but talk about how you have to actually believe what you're saying too for it to actually change any behavior, right? You talk about how, if you know of anybody who's dealt with that, or if you dealt with that yourself.
100%. I was about to say me. I so early on, I was making some money and I had a little bit of success when I was young, but I had some confidence, but I never truly, genuinely believed in myself. So when I would say those things, I would say it because it sounded good, but wholeheartedly deep down, I don't know if I truly, genuinely believed it. And one day, and this goes to another thing in business and in life, surrounding yourself with the right people. I was going to play basketball, it's a pickup game. And I walked into the gym and I was walking down the sideline to get to the court. And there's a guy, I had no idea who he was, but there's two guys sitting on the side. And as I walked by, the guy was telling his friend, he was, yeah, I just wholesaled this house. And I was, obviously, I know what wholesaling is. So immediately, without a second, I turned to him and introduced myself. Like, again, fear. A lot of people wouldn't randomly introduce themselves to somebody just sitting on a bench, right? But without a hesitation, I was like, boom, my name's Austin. How are you? And we connected, right? We talked about real estate. We talked about wholesaling. He ended up hitting me up later. He was newer into the game, and I was a couple years into the game, so I had a little bit more experience. He hit it up me later. He's like, "Hey, let me take you to lunch. I'd love to network with you." Went to lunch. He paid for it. One of my best friends today. He was best man on my wedding a few months ago. And I say
Wow.
all this to say, up until that time, I didn't really believe in myself, right? That day when I connected with him, I don't know why, but over the next 6, 12, 18 months, he saw something in me that I never saw in myself. And he would just hype me up. He'd be, yo, man, you the man, you crushing it. Go do your thing. Walk in there with confidence. And again, he saw something that I didn't see at the time. And that maybe single-handedly gave me the confidence to continue to grow and build what I'm doing today. So it goes back to the power of the people you surround yourself with. They can bring you up or they can tear you down, right? So you need people in your corner that support you and motivate you. So to tie this all together, what gave me that extra ability was actually having the confidence within myself, which came from having the right people in my circle.
I like that. So obviously the follow-up question is, how do you find the right people in your circle? Do you go up to random people at basketball courts, or what do you feel you should be doing, you know?
I think it goes back to networking events, right? I lucked out, just randomly being at a basketball court. But to be fair, I spoke, right? A lot of people have that moment in life, but they don't speak up, right? Somebody walking down the street. And when I was valeting cars, every single person that drove in with a nice car, Lambo, Ferrari, Rolls Royce, even a Range Rover, anything nice, I was like, yo, what do you do? Right. I was just asking questions to people because I wanted to know what successful people did. So, yes, it's lucky I met him at a basketball court, but I spoke, right? You speak up and magically things start happening. But a lot of the people, a lot of my best friends came from networking events and masterminds because those people are on the same path as you, right? I don't have many friends from high school, very, very few that are still around from high school. All of my friends and all the people I hang with now came from, most of them are in real estate or some sort of entrepreneurship. So you need to go out there and go to these events to meet people that are on the same wavelength as you. So, if they're at a, event that's talking about buying multifamily, they're trying to grow. They're trying to be better. You're trying to grow. You're trying to be better, right? And if you talk to these people, you're not going to connect with everybody. Everybody's not built for everyone, right? But if you talk to enough people, you're going to end up building a relationship with somebody to then, start hanging out with and becoming a friend with. And now you got, instead of talking about, going to the club on Friday night, now you're talking about how to build a business and how to buy real estate, right? When I make phone calls to people now, it's all right, cool. How do we grow? What's working for you? How's this going? What type of ads are you running? What type of loans are you getting on real estate? What's your interest rate? Because we're trying to grow and we're trying to build something. And again, 95% of the people I hang out with now are people that came from either networking events or masterminds, or just, I guess technically it'd be a networking event. I was going to say in the business, but the only way I meet them in the business is through networking and networking events. So that's where it all came from.
Gotcha. Love it. So then, okay, I want to keep on this topic. I like this topic a lot because I've been going to networking events. I've been speaking at a few meetups that a lot of my friends have been putting on. And I've been talking a lot about the 3 questions that people should ask themselves when they're going to networking events. What do you want? Who has what you want? And what are you going to do to give overwhelming value to that person? Right.
Yeah.
So similar to what you said, add some sort of value, right? If I'm someone who's new and I've never done a deal before, how in the world am I going to add value to somebody like Austin or Jonah? How am I going to add value to anyone who's there if I've never done anything?
Great question. And there's never a one size fits all, right? I'll give you one story about a kid that I ended up speaking at my entrepreneurship, the teacher that's taught entrepreneurship at my high school. I went back to teach at that classroom years after I was into the business. When there was a kid there, he was, I don't know, 17, 18 years old at the time. And like I could tell he was into what I was saying, right? One of very few people in the classroom. And then a year later, I actually went to speak again. He happened to be in the classroom again. And after that, people come to me all the time. They're like, hey man, if you need anything, just let me know. I'm all right, cool, thanks. And it happens all the time. But he texted me and said the same thing. And I was all right, thanks. And then he followed up 2 weeks later. He said, hey man, I just got off of work. It's 3:00. If you need anything, I'm free the rest of the night. I was like, nah, I'm good. And 2 weeks later, he texted me again. He said, hey, just letting you know this weekend, I'm free. If you need anything, just let me know. I was like, I'm good. He did that for months. And I was like, nope. Because for me, if I take something, I feel I have to return the value, right? So I was like, no. And then one day, consistently following up, he hit me up. He's like, hey, bro, I'm free. If you need anything, let me know. And I just bought office building and I was doing a co-working space in it. And I just had all the tables, all the chairs, everything delivered in boxes, and they all needed put together, right? And I was like, I was sitting there, I was like, I do not feel doing this. I was going to get my team to help me do it, but it was a Friday. I was like, oh, this is going to suck, right? And it was 50 chairs, like it was a lot. And he hit me up, and I was like, yeah, I need help. And immediately he was there, brought tools, and he worked the whole weekend, expecting nothing in return, put everything together. And ever since then, I've been rocking with him for, I don't know, 3 years now. But he's came to all my masterminds and meetups for free. He's actually in one of the offices for free right now. I'm giving him all the game. Like I've done everything in my power to help him because he added value to me on the front end in a genuine way of adding value and not expecting anything in return. So there's never a one size fits all of how you can help someone. But find a way to stand out, right? One thing that I do is I try to give special gifts. This Elevate sign behind me, I've sent not the Elevate sign, but I've gotten people's logos and sent these signs to them. So depending on the size and everything, these are $500, $1,000, $2,000, and it's a very impactful gift, right? It's not just a random journal. These are something somebody's going to hang in their office and going to think of me every time that they do it, right? So I'm not saying start with $1,000 gift, but find something that can stand out, right? Find their favorite baseball team or basketball or whatever it is. Find something that's different and add value in that way. But unfortunately, it's not one size fits all. Now, if you have a deal, yeah, everybody wants a deal. People hit me up all the time. They're, hey, bro, how can we do something together? I was like, bring me a deal. Let's work. That's a very easy way to get into the game and build relationships is by, wholesaling deals or partnering on deals. But outside of that, it's just finding a different way to add value to people.
I absolutely love that story. That's a genius, gosh darn answer to give to someone. Is honestly just keep follow. If there's someone you truly connect with, you're truly trying to do business with, keep following up with them forever. How long was that kid following up with you?
Months.
Like how many months? You feel
at
4 or
least
5 months?
3, maybe 3
At
to
least
6.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an annoying thing either. It wasn't every week. Hey. It was genuine, right? And it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I feel like that's a great way to do it. And then all you and me could use this where it's just, you know what? There will be a time where I need someone to randomly do something. There's something, I'll tell a story too, where I had a guy at a real estate event who really wanted to get into wholesaling. And I kind of needed some bandit signs put up I have this house I'm selling on seller finance. And a lot of times that's one of the main ways my friends have sold it. Man, I really don't want to put up bandit signs. I feel I'm better than that at this point. Maybe that's cocky, but and then he was like, yeah, I'll do that for you. And then he just did it. And I'm, wow, that's awesome. Right. And now I'm talking to him and we might be doing more deals soon. Right. So guys, I love that because I think it's really hard for people to be creative because really what I've been telling people is creatively add value.
Yep.
But I really like the idea of if you don't have anything right now, just keep consistently following up with the person until they actually have something for you to do. I just love that advice. That was a good gem right there.
And once the ask finally comes, be prepared for it, right? I'm sure he didn't want to sit in an office building Friday, Saturday, and Sunday putting together chairs, right? Like, it's not a fun thing to do. I'm sure he had other plans during the weekend, right? But when the ask came, he did it. And that's my dog now. Like, that's my brother. He can call me for anything, and I'm there for him, right? So do that consistently. But when the ask comes, make sure you can perform. Assuming it's not, hey, drive to Canada or something, right? Assuming it's a reasonable ask, just be prepared to perform on it.
I love it, my man. So where are you doing deals? What would you want from my community? We can drop your socials, we can drop everything. This is the plug it time. What do we got? I heard you had a coaching program. What should we plug right now?
Yeah, so all the social media is at Austin Rutherford. Would love to connect with you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. If you want to grab a copy of my book, it's up there. If you go to howtogetfreehouses.com, howtogetfreehouses.com, it's basically how to build wealth using other people's money. And like I said, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I respond to everybody on there, so I'd love to connect.
What are your markets? Where are you buying houses?
Yeah. So Columbus, Ohio, and I think we're going into Cincinnati, Ohio. So anything in Ohio, if you get it, send it to me. We're buying deals every week. So we'd love to do some deals together.
I love it, my man. Awesome. So cool. Love it. You're an amazing guest. He's a really chill guy. Guys, I DM'd him. He's like, yeah, I'll go do your podcast. So yeah, just DM him. He's a great guy, especially if you're doing deals in Ohio. Definitely get the book. Follow him on Instagram and YouTube. And then, yeah, man, any last words before I end this?
No, man. Appreciate the opportunity. And like I said, for everyone listening, get rid of the fear. It works. It's not rocket science.
That's the whole point of the podcast. All right. Thank you, my man. This was Skorch the Fears. We'll be back Thursday, 6 p.m. MST next week. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's freaking go.